Well, Australians who participated in Greta Thunberg's flotilla to Gaza have spoken about their harrowing ordeal. They've described the horrific conditions they were forced to endure in an Israeli prison and have complained that they had to pay their own way home. Here's Juliette Lamont.
Our medication was restricted, food and water. The cells are 6 metres by 3.5. I walked it out. Nobody was given any menstrual napkins. And we were routinely woken up in the middle of the night with huge blasting lights, with Alsatians and 20 men in riot gear. And this went on and on and on.
And here I was thinking people who sail into an active war zone, despite repeated warnings not to do so, would be put up at the Sheraton. Here's another protester apparently upset that Australian taxpayers didn't pay for his flights home.
Many of us spent days on Skyscanner trying to get flights home. Myself, I flew Amman, Kuwait, Dubai, China, Sydney on a very expensive flight that I've had to pay for myself to get home.
Joining me now is Sky News host Rowan Dean. Rowan, I want to move on to some other topics, but first I got to get your reaction. Can you believe these guys?
Well, the torture and going on and on and on is definitely a case of a taste of their own medicine. The torture for the last couple of years for many of us has been listening to Greta Thunberg and her clown show, wandering around the Mediterranean, pretending that they have something to offer to world geopolitics. And as for that character, as you say, maybe he shouldn't have bothered, because the world is in no better shape for their efforts. In fact, the lives of the hostages and the lives of many Palestinians at the mercy of Hamas would be in worse shape thanks to their efforts, because along with Penny Wong and Anthony Albanese, all that Thunberg and those clowns managed to do was drag out the process that finished so brilliantly the other evening. But those people actually prolonged Hamas's sense that they could actually win this thing by eking out the agony. They should have learned their lesson. They won't learn their lesson. No doubt next time there's some other place that they can get some media attention, they'll do so. But seriously, I think the world's had enough of Thunberg and her clowns.
Have a listen to this pro-Palestine protester being investigated by UK police after chanting, "Put the Zios in the ground." His name is Samuel Williams. He's reportedly a student at Oxford, where he studies politics, philosophy and economics. Here he is.
Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground.
Rowan, a couple of days after the event, police have said they're investigating and the university will look into it. Do you think someone chanting for, Muslims to be put in the ground would make it to the end of the day or even the end of the street without being charged?
No, of course not. And this is just a sign, James, of how far Western civilization, in particular one of the leading lights of Western civilization, Britain, has fallen to the leftist march through the long march through the institutions. Oxford University is the oldest university in the English-speaking world. It's probably the second oldest university in the world. There were students there 30 years after the Battle of Hastings and the Norman Conquest. That's how old that university is. You think of Brideshead Revisited, Canterbury Tales, Oxford University features in all of those great works of literature. And here we have, it's called the humanities, James, the subjects that aren't necessarily medicine and the ones that actually mean something, engineering and so on. The humanities have to be churning out the most inhumane and vile individuals, not only from Oxford, but we've seen 2 cases recently from Oxford, not only this character, but we saw the bloke who had the great honour and privilege to debate at Oxford, Charlie Kirk, then turned round and mocked and celebrated Charlie Kirk's assassination. Now we have this character at the same time that Zios, as he calls them, in other words, that's just the modern slang for Jews. Jews are being buried in the ground in Gaza. 20 of them were released. There were many more that were buried there under the most horrific circumstances by Hamas, by Palestinian terrorists who took young kids the same age as that boy with all his privileges at Oxford, probably goes to rock concerts at Glastonbury and elsewhere. And were Hamas given the opportunity, they would do the same thing at the Glastonbury rock concert, and he would be one of those who would find himself in the ground courtesy of the Palestinian terrorists. It is sick what our universities are churning out, James. They are psychopaths. They are sociopaths. The depths of depravity that is coming out of our universities is truly shocking. It's truly shocking, James.
Yeah, and he's, as I said, he's studying politics, philosophy. This is the kind of kid who'll end up, you know, in some position of leadership in the Western world at some point, presumably. God help us. Rowan Dean, appreciate your time tonight.